Did you call Elizabeth Sheldon?
No, I did not, but I can.
I have 2 corrections to the minutes if we're going to do minutes
Are you ready?
first.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready now?
Let me get them up now.
Okay.
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 The first correction, under the bid for the nursing home, that, first of all, as recommended by engineer Eric Johnson and Campbell, they said that, it was the lowest bid. I don't think they recommended it because of any other particular reason, because they certainly didn't recommend one over the other of the base bid versus the alt bid. So I don't think that's necessary, but it should be necessary that it's in there that the alternate bid was chosen, which includes the flooring, because we had 8 options, but that needs to be identified, that it wasn't the base bid, it was the alternate bid that was accepted. Because that makes it just look like...
Okay, number 1, that was what his motion was.
That's what my motion was, yes.
So if we...
No, it wasn't. He did not say that. I had to ask him to clarify which one he wanted. So if you want to be technical...
He said the total bid is what I had typed down.
That's after I asked him which one what dollar amount, because I questioned him as to the percentage.
I think he stated the dollar amount that he was making the motion on.
After the motion was already stated, yes, during the discussion.
I had typed the word total bid, so, in the motion.
But a total bid, there were 2 total bids for everyone. A total base bid or a total alternate bid.
Well, I put total bid at the beginning, and then I put that he recommended by Eric Johnson, because that's what he said in his motion, so. That is
Maybe he did say the recommendation by Eric Johnson, but that needs to be clarified, which bid it is. You don't have to put that as part of the motion, but after motion carried, you can say that for alternate bid 1.
I'm not saying anything, that's up to you guys as a board, so you guys tell me what you want, but.
Well, I believe it needs to be clarified. That was an alternate bid, it was not the base bid. Because if you want to be technical, I can go back and show you he did not say the dollar amount in there. That was all clarified in the discussion. You moved to accept the bid presented by Street Plumbing.
Right.
And you may have said recommended by Eric Johnson. I'm not going to argue that part of it. And you did say with what projects, excuse me, funds to be drawn from the web fund. But that dollar amount was not clarified because I specifically asked you when you said that the percentage of the 43,000 that they're charging us from Eric and Johnson. When I questioned that, you specifically said that that didn't make the 10%, and I said, well, wait a minute. Or you said it was under the 10%, and I said no, that's not true because I was looking at the $300,000 figure when I asked you that. That's why I questioned it. We had a whole discussion over that, and that's when you clarified which one.
Right, right, and I felt like he was putting that back in his motion.
No, you have to amend the motion, and you can't. This is why parliamentary procedure is completely necessary. You can't just make up a motion as to how you heard it. It has to be either amended or withdrawn, stricken, and re-entered. But we can clarify what was meant in the minutes after the motion was accepted. However, that dollar amount was not part of the motion because I wasn't sure which one you were referring to until we had the discussion, and I questioned 10% of the total cost. At 43,000 was more than 10% of 300 and whatever that first number was. And then you said it was less than 10%, and I said, how is that possible? Because then you quoted the $493,000 number in the discussion, but that's not, a discussion is not part of a motion. So I would like the dollar amount to be stricken from the motion and to be added in as a clarification after the motion carried to say alternate bid, because that is what we voted on, the alternate bid, not the base bid.
I think it's all right the way it is.
All right doesn't equal accurate. That's
It was
the
fairly
problem.
accurate because that's what I intended. I just didn't say the amount, but when you asked what amount I said that's the amount I had in my motion, so.
I understand what you're telling me in this discussion right now, but when minutes are taken, the motions are to be taken verbatim. That means word by word. So if your dollar amount was not in the motion, it cannot go into the motion on paper. It can be clarified after the motion, but we can't just be making things up. I mean, this is why there are so many questions about the activities of this commission. You can't just make things up and put them into the motion and say it sounds all right. If it's not accurate, it's not accurate. I'm asking for the dollar amount to be stricken and put after the motion, clarifying it as the alternate amount, alternate bid amount. Because there were two bids from Street Plumbing, and this makes
The
it...
$493,000 is the total. It's not the alternate amount. There was a base bid and an alternate bid, and then a total bid. So the $493 would not be the alternate.
The alternate is if you did the project plus the one. That's what I'm saying. You have two choices. From each contractor, we had two choices. We had choice number one. Let's call it choice number two then, if that makes you happy. What I'm saying is the dollar amount was not in the motion because that's what I wanted clarified in the discussion.
What is your second change?
Under the adjournment, with no further business to come before the board, the chairman adjourned the meeting. No, it wasn't because there was no further business to come before the board. I was cut off with an abrupt adjournment.
No, you weren't.
Actually, I was, Terry, because I received phone calls about the meeting because it was ended as such. And if you'd like to watch it, I can show you that. But I had other things.
I believe it said that with no further business coming before the board, the chairman adjourned the meeting.
And that is absolutely not true
In my
because
opinion,
it
there
was...
wasn't any other business coming before this board.
In your opinion, you can have all the opinions
Well,
you
you
want.
can have all the opinion you want.
No, I was scheduled at the end and I was cut off. I didn't even finish discussing the items that I had from under my segmented agenda slot. I put myself on the agenda.
Did I allow the 15 minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed.
Nay.
Motion is carried. David, do you want to address the board today?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'll be referring to documents in this packet that I gave you. Good morning. I would like to begin by expressing our gratitude and appreciation to Darn Harlow, our Lincoln County Clerk. My wife Mona and I have been using the Kansas Open Records Act, also known as K.S.A, to obtain county records whenever we've heard questions being asked about various matters in our county. The fees charged to us for county present information regarding K.S.A 75-4304 and related information to the county commission to help it decide whether or not to seek a legal opinion from the state attorney general over an alleged contract making between Lincoln County and O'Hare Law, LLC that began on or before December 2013. Through open records requests, we have learned that approximately $189,000 has been paid to the O'Hare Law, LLC under what appears to be an alleged professional service contract. This alleged professional services contract appears to be for office and clerical support work provided by O'Hare Law, LLC employees for the county attorney. A portion of the monthly bill describes what appear to be expenses and appear to be a portion of the law firm's rent and/or utilities and other claimed expenses, although they are neither substantiated nor cost itemized on the billing statements. I am not a licensed attorney, and I am not making any allegations, nor am I offering my own legal opinions today. At the previous commission meeting, there seemed to be questions whether a conflict of interest existed in the alleged contract making. Questions seem to have also been raised whether the county attorney, acting in her official elected role, participated in any matters or participated in the making of the alleged contract. And with respect to Kansas State Act, Chapter 75, Article 43, Section 4, there is now a question whether this alleged contract making by the county attorney was prohibited under Kansas law. This morning, I will be reading some Kansas statutes before the commission, which may be applicable to these questions. I will also be sharing information which may help you decide whether seeking an opinion from the Attorney General is warranted. I have provided each of you copies of this information, which I will be referring to during this morning's presentation. For each concern, I will be making what I believe to be a factual statement, followed by a citation from a Kansas statute or a previous Attorney General opinion. I will then follow each section with a suggested question that I hope this commission will forward to the State Attorney General for his legal opinion. So let us begin. O'Hare Law, LLC was formed and listed with the Kansas Secretary of State on December 6, 2012. Annual reports filed with the Secretary of State office list Jennifer O'Hare as a member of this LLC with a greater than 5% interest. I will now read an excerpt from Kansas State Act 75-4301A. This is in your packet. Paragraph A. Substantial interest means any of the following. If an individual or an individual's spouse, either individually or collectively, has owned within the preceding 12 months a legal or equitable interest exceeding $5,000 or 5% of any business, whichever is less, the individual has a substantial interest in that business. So the first suggested question I ask that you ask the State Attorney General for his opinion as follows. As defined under Kansas State Act 75-4301A, does Jennifer O'Hare have a substantial interest in O'Hare Law, LLC? This may sound like a rhetorical question, and the answer may seem obvious, but this is exactly how the state of Kansas defines a conflict of interest in the state. Everything else is immaterial. It has nothing to do with the nature of the deal at hand only whether one of the provisions in 75-4301A apply to your own interest in that individual or entity. So my advice to any Lincoln County elected official, government officer, or employee for which these statutes apply, if you ever think there may be a conflict of interest, compare your own personal situation to 75-4301A, and it will tell you if you have a conflict according to Kansas law. And if you aren't sure, you can contact the Governmental Ethics Commission, who will give you free advice and tell you whether you have a conflict, and if so, how to proceed with your government duties without violating Kansas law. The October 14th, 2013 recorded and approved Lincoln County Commission minutes read as follows. County Attorney Jennifer O'Hare requested that the board consider approving moving the County Attorney's office to her new law firm prior to January 1st, as there are sufficient funds available in the County Attorney's budget to pay the additional costs for office expenses negotiated earlier this year while working on the 2014 budget. The board related that they would be in favor of a December 1st move contingent upon sufficient funds remaining within the budget. And then the May 31st, 2016 recorded and approved Lincoln County Commission minutes reads as follows. The County Attorney, Jennifer O'Hare, requested that the contract to O'Hare Law LLC be increased to pay for an additional employee that was hired to help with the increased county attorney workload. After discussion, Terry Finch moved to increase the contract to O'Hare Law LLC by $800 per month through December 2016, seconded by Jared Hill. Motion carried. I am now going to read Kansas Statute Act 75-4304, which is known as a local conflict of interest statute. I have provided each of you a copy of the statute, and it reads, Section A, no local government officer or employee shall, in the capacity of such an officer or employee, make or participate in the making of a contract with any person or business by which the officer or employee is employed or in whose business the officer or employee has a substantial interest. B, no person or business shall enter into any contract where any local government officer, employee acting in that capacity is a signatory to or a participant in the making of the contract and is employed by or has a substantial interest in the person or business. A local government officer or employee does not make or participate in the making of the contract if the officer or employee abstains from any action in regard to the contract. This shall not apply to the following: contracts let after competitive bidding has been advertised for by published notice, and contracts for property or services for which the price or rate is fixed by law. Any local government officer or employee who is convicted of violating this section shall forfeit the office or employment. So my second question for the State Attorney General reads as follows. Do the above County Commission minutes indicate that Jennifer O'Hare, as County Attorney, participated in the making of a contract or participated in any action as it is applicable to Kansas State Act 75-4304? O'Hare Law LLC began billing Lincoln County $3,812.08 each month starting in December 2013, the month after the October 14, 2013 Commission meeting. Then monthly, the law firm continued to bill the county the same amount until the alleged service contract price was raised in May of 2016 to $4,612.08. This is the same month that the County Commission meeting minutes indicate a contract was raised by $800. These monthly billing claims continue through the present. I have provided some copies of these billing statements which you have in your packet. Before O'Hare Law LLC began billing for this alleged monthly professional services contract, another law firm had been providing a professional service contract for secretarial, office, and paralegal work for the county attorney's office and billing the county each month. That law firm billed $1,616 per month and also substantiated and itemized separately for any items in addition to the professional services contract price that they wanted reimbursement for. This included miscellaneous use of office supplies or other items which rarely amounted to more than $10 or $20 in additional cost to the county. I have provided a copy of the last billing statement that law firm submitted after their contract ended and the alleged new contract with O'Hare Law began. We searched the Lincoln Sentinel archives and we could not find any published notices for any competitive bidding for the alleged professional services contract that the previous law firm held prior to December 2013 and then lost to O'Hare Law LLC. An open records request for any competitive billing records was requested, but denied by the county clerk, saying we would have to be more specific to the records we wish to obtain, which we understand. If any competitive bidding was made to satisfy exception number 1 in 75-4304, we did not find it. So my third suggested question for the Attorney General reads as follows. As recorded in the Lincoln County Commission meeting minutes, by asking the County Commission to approve her plans to co-locate the County Attorney's office and her law firm at additional cost to the county, and to approve a request she made to increase the monthly cost of the alleged service contract in May of 2016, did the County Attorney abstain in the matter or in the alleged contract making by asking the Commission Board to approve her requests? In answering the above question, I offer for guidance Kansas State Attorney General Opinion 82-144, which concerned a local conflict of interest of a commissioner, and whether abstaining from the vote was by itself enough to abstain from any participation in the making of a contract as it specifically applied to 75-4304. Here is one excerpt that was included in that Attorney General's opinion. This is a broad prohibition, and it seems to us that merely abstaining from signing a contract is not sufficient. A public officer or employee must not participate in any way in the making of such a contract. Thus, it would be improper for the public official or employee to participate in any deliberations of the governing body regarding the terms of sick conditions of such. It would be prudent for him to exclude himself from any meeting or that their part thereof wherein such contracts are even being considered. The emphasis is original. The Attorney General himself underlined the words "in any way" in the original published opinion. So my next question that I suggest you ask the Attorney General reads as follows. In light of Attorney General Opinion 82-144, did the County Attorney participate in the making of a contract with a firm in which she had a substantial interest in violation of Kansas Law 75-4304? As references were made to a contract in the May 31st, 2016 County Commission meeting minutes, my wife and I attempted to obtain a copy of any written contract that the county may have executed with O'Hare Law LLC. We were told by the county clerk that it was an oral contract, and later through a written CORA request it was stated that no contract exists. So my fifth suggested question for the State Attorney General reads as follows. Does a written contract separate from monthly billing claims need to be executed for a contract to be made as applicable to K.S.A. 75-4304? Or are oral contract makings also prohibited under 75-4304 when no other exceptions in the statute apply, and the official participates in the making of an oral contract involving an individual or firm in which they themselves have a substantial interest? On October 20th, I received an attorney response from the Kansas Governmental Ethics Commission that read in part as follows. If requested by a local government officer or employee or candidate for local office, the Commission has the authority to issue opinions regarding local conflict of interest laws. The Commission does not have jurisdiction over the enforcement of alleged violations. Those are handled by the county attorneys and the Attorney General. It is my opinion that the Governmental Ethics Commission confirmed through their official response to my inquiry that Lincoln County must turn to either our county attorney for her opinion and enforcement of the statute, or we must seek this from the Attorney General's office. However, in this matter, I believe that the rules of professional conduct for Kansas attorneys adopted by the Kansas Supreme Court requires attorneys to recuse themselves and avoid participating in any matter when an attorney-client conflict of interest is at hand. Since Lincoln County is by statute the client of the county attorney, and the questions of the applicability of 75-4304 involve the county attorney personally, I believe she may need to recuse herself in this matter. This is why I believe the County Commission needs to seek the opinion of the Attorney General in this matter directly, which is your privilege and responsibility. I believe when each of you took the oath of your office, it was to uphold the U.S. and state constitutions, and in doing so, follow and abide by all our laws, including this local conflict of interest statute, K.S.A. 75-4304. Therefore, it is my hope that you will consider submitting these questions and this information to our State Attorney General for his legal opinion. Thank you very much for your attention to this matter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll take that under advisement. It's a while for me to digest all that stuff. David, are you ready?
Roughly a month ago, it came before the board, referenced the LEPC and the lack of participation with the LEPC. You asked me to formulate a letter, showed you the letter. I sent the letter out to the listed individuals appointed by the commissioners. With that, I received no responses except for one was from Sheriff Mike Weigel, and he would like to have his name no longer appointed to that position, and he wanted me to ask the commission if you would appoint Gary Kingan, the chief deputy, as the representative to the LEPC.
Has he been notified,
Who?
Gary?
I spoke with him, yes, and he's well aware that this appointment is pending, yes, and he's on board 150%.
I'd move to appoint him to the LEPC.
PC, yes ma'am, local emergency planning.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to appoint Gary to LEPC,
What position?
Law enforcement.
law enforcement.
Can I add that to the motion?
I'll amend the motion. I move to appoint Gary, how do you say his name?
Kingan.
To the LEPC law enforcement position. Member.
Second that, Jim.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, David. That is next Monday, right?
Correct, at noon at the emergency services building, yes.
All right.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
So maybe we should go back to this while we have a little bit of time. I'm wondering what is your understanding of this contract? Since you were both commissioners when it was created and amended. A verbal contract, is that?
I would say, I would consider it a verbal contract, agreement or whatever. The question is, one of the questions as to why the increase, I can tell you, and you asked Mike Weigel in here the other day, why we had so many cases, and he indicated that 60% of those cases he felt were coming off the interstate, which came about when Colorado legalized marijuana, which was about the same time that there was a big increase in the amount of workload at the county attorney's office.
I thought we talked about some larger cases maybe that had taken up, that had
There
consumed
was 2 murder cases also, but
at that time.
you know, if you remember, Mike told you 60% of those.
I understand
Coming out
that,
the
and I've
interstate.
asked for the information to see our caseload, and we do have a significant amount of criminal cases, and that's why I was asking him that. But my question, as I brought up to you a few weeks ago, is, you know, in the minutes, it was approved that you would do an increase for that part-time position that she was contracting for help through December 2016. And I had not caught on to that until recently, 2 months ago, when I started telling you I wasn't going to approve the accounts payable because of that, because it has never been reestablished what that amount is, or what that contract even is, or where it exists. So for the last 9 months now, we've been paying that increased amount, and it was only approved through December 2016.
Yeah, then I believe it was included in the budget.
In the next budget, we budgeted for it.
But the budget, although it may have had a total increase to the budget, we are still paying out a specific contractual payment out of, we're approving accounts payable every month with a contractual payment of a dollar amount, and I believe it ends in 8 cents or something like that. So we're still doing that, regardless of the budget. The contract amount was never approved. Do you see what I'm saying? It's still a negotiated dollar amount that exists, and it was only to exist through December 2016. So I'm
I
wondering.
believe she has the authority to spend her budget.
But that's a contract that we're paying out, that we've approved, and what we're saying here is that it's just verbal. So was there a verbal agreement then that going into the 2017 budget that contractual amount was going to stay? Because I didn't find that in the minutes. All I found was that it was going to end after December 2016.
Like I say, it's in the budget, she has the authority to spend the budget.
Right, and I'm not questioning her authority to spend the money out of the budget, but this is a contractual payment. It's not just her purchasing
We have contractual
items.
payments coming out of the highway department. We have contractual payments coming out of the health department. We have contractual payments coming out of the EMS service. I imagine Dawn has contractual payments.
Not with their own businesses, though. None of them that I'm aware of at this point have contracted to their own private enterprise. Or are there more?
As far as I know, no.
Can I say one thing? The reason I brought up this law is not because I think it was violated. As you know, the Kansas statutes are quite deep. They go on forever. There could very well be an exception that accepts county attorneys in this situation. The problem is that right now the county is sending money to a corporation which the county attorney may, under Kansas law, have a substantial interest in. And all the state of Kansas cares with public officials is if they have a substantial interest in a company for which the county is providing money to, that I believe they have anything to do with, they don't abstain from that contract. You have to be very careful, for the county attorney's benefit, how this is done. I'm not questioning today in any way how much money you're paying her. I personally think the county attorney is underpaid.
I think you're right, because if you go to figure the hours and the salary, it is. I guess I would say one of the problems we have as a small county is we do not have probably enough business to employ a total county attorney official. And for many years, I think we have followed the same precept of paying a law firm to house not only our offices, because we really don't have any offices for them in the building, and it was a part-time job. It has increased as society has, I don't know what to call it, deteriorated. You know, the caseload has deteriorated. I think one of the other problems is, and I never thought, and I didn't think about this, is that we were paying a law firm in which she was only a partner. And when that move made, when she became her own, you know, I guess I would assume that she had researched it and felt comfortable in doing it. I don't know that. But I appreciate you bringing this to our attention, and probably we need to maybe check in and see exactly what's going on. We, I guess, I feel comfortable in what's going on. However, we need to make sure that we are not overpaying her for what our workload is, you know. Now, how do we determine that? That's going to take some effort on our part.
I believe the previous law firm, she may have had a substantial interest in that law firm. However, the law, as I understand it, has to do with whether that person who has a substantial interest is actually participating in the making of the contract. And I believe from what I've heard is that back then, Mr. Metz was the person who was effectively in charge of that contract.
His law firm, yes.
And I've read many governmental ethics opinions, including some attorney generals. My non-attorney opinion is the previous contract was compliant with the law. And if you recall how the Metz and O'Hare law firm used to put those substantiated, like paper clips, 29 cents, fax, $5, is when you have time to review 75-4301A, it gives you very good, clear definitions of what a qualifying reimbursement has to be. And I do believe there's a way for the county to structure the arrangement so that the county attorney can do her job. But I do believe that it is worth your time to seek outside counsel and find out whether an exception exists. Then this is all moot. But if an exception doesn't exist, there's clearly a way to structure this so that right now a part-time county attorney can serve the people of Lincoln County and be compliant with these laws.
I think that
Thank you.
the vast majority of the counties in the state have some sort of agreement with a private law. You know, a lot of the surrounding counties have 2 or more county-paid employees in that law firm. We chose not to go that route because by the time you offer the benefits and stuff, it's far cheaper to do it the way we're doing it than it is to pay benefits on the employees. And you also run into those firms where that's being done is those county employees are at times doing work for the private law firm. It happens. There's no way around it. And, you know, I think probably, I have no idea what all agreements exist, but in any county that cannot justify a full-time county attorney, there is some sort of a situation just like the one we have.
As a citizen, I'll be the first to say sometimes complying with governmental laws is easier said than done. And I'll leave that for you guys to figure out.
My concern, though, brings us back to the discussion that we have had with the county attorney about where the office is located and the fact that she wants full-time help. She requested that in her budget, and we rejected that request, yet increased this budget potentially under this contractual amount, which it was the way that she had it set up. She was inferring that she would take money out of her contractual fund to put toward the salary if we were going to help compensate that amount. So when you look at the numbers on paper, what she's saying is that amount has already been dedicated towards salary out of that contractual fund. And while that's all plausible and well and good, we still have not had an itemized breakdown at all to what these other expenses are. And we are allowing offices in this building to go free of rent for outside resources to use while we're paying rent out of our pocket for an external use that should, in my opinion, be internalized. You know, we're already covering the overhead of this building, and now we're covering the overhead of an external place as well, without itemization even. We're not even sure. You know, I've asked this repeatedly of you, and I've never seen a breakdown, but we don't even know what portion or percentage of anything that we're paying. And when I ask questions like about the printer or the copier machine, we pay 100% of that contract. So is that being used for dual purposes, but we're covering the cost?
That's just what I said. You're going to find out in every single county attorney situation in the state that does not have a full-time county attorney. You're going to find the same thing in every county, something similar that may not appear to be exactly correct. I don't think it's correct for a county employee to be doing private law, but it's happening. You can talk to the county attorney in Mitchell County and he'll tell you so. It happens. There's no way around it. Those are employees, they answer the telephone, you know. There's always, I don't know how you would get a absolutely clear-cut situation when you have a part-time county attorney.
Well, that also leads us to the discussion of where our priorities are, you know, or where are we going to give that support? Because Jennifer has said that she was reluctant to look at a full-time position, yet maybe that's what's necessary. You know, we have to decide that based on the situation, and without getting this clarified, you know, this may be the means to the end to create that situation that is cut and clear.
Are you prepared to pay the salary of a full-time county attorney?
If you looked at the budgets that she presented to us with her own budget, you know, there's not that much.
She's regardless, she would still have to have some clerical staff, someone to answer the telephone when she's not available. You're still gonna have to have other people in that office.
But what I'm saying is there's not that much discrepancy in the dollar amount allotted with our budget versus other full-time attorney office budgets, and that is with the population difference. So if you're talking about an incremental increase to assist her with her clerical work as a full-time person versus other already established full-time offices, you're not talking about a huge difference in the money there.
You understand, there's a full-time person that goes on the family health insurance, it's gonna cost us in the neighborhood of what, $2,000 a month? So do you see that as a benefit for us to go that route?
No, but I think we need to contemplate where we're going to put the emphasis. You know, like as she said to us, you went ahead and added 2 employees to the sheriff's department too. And so that directly corresponds with the county attorney's office. So we only have 2 part-time employees in our county attorney's office, yet we have budget increases and employee increases in other departments. So it comes down to the decision of where we're going to put our priorities, which we still have not had a discussion to clarify.
Bret, are you here?
Yep. Room,
Yep, come on in.
come on down. Okay. We have 4 students attending a EMT class in Bennington. Started with 6, ended up with 4, actually signed the contract and kept going. By a contract, I mean contract to be eligible for the EIG grant from the state. The EIG grant is $1,150. So that's what the $1,150 is what the instructor charges. That includes the books, stethoscope, blood pressure cuff, shirt, and some other, few other things. The grant money's pending from the state. I've not heard from them, which is good news. So if there's a problem, they usually let you know right away. So I'm expecting you to get that. The instructor would like to have half his total cost here, you know, the first of the month, and this month's bill paying, which is $2,450. With the balance due around the 10th of December, or he's written there on the 10th of December. So I just wanted to kind of let.
We haven't had any problem getting reimbursed previously, have we?
No, but will the course be over with by the December 10th?
No. It'll be close. It'll be over in December, but I can't tell you the exact date.
Be done by the end of the year.
Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Because we would have to cut that in November, so.
What's that?
We would have to cut that in November.
Yeah, at the end of November, so he can have it by first part of December. He's written December 10th there. I don't have a problem with paying him. Personally, I mean, I think he's good for it. This obligates them to a year of service. The EIG grant obligates them to 120 hours or 240 hours or a year of service. If they put in 20 hours a month, they can pay that off, and they're free and clear, and we're free and clear. And it's, that EIG stuff is pretty common. We've done. I know they've done that before here.
Yeah. These are our local Lake County residents.
You're young, all of them, but you gotta start somewhere. So.
Well, I think they're willing to take the class. We need to.
Well, yeah, we need to support them if we
Yeah,
can.
they're out their time, and you know.
Is that gonna?
They're using the bus or the county van, but at least some of them are. I don't know if they're all riding in it, but it's available to them. So.
Is the
Reimbursement, how quick does that, would that come in before the first of the year?
I believe so, because I think they pay up front.
I'm sorry.
I think the grant pays up front if they're approved.
Yeah, that's in the works, they'll pay up, they'll pay
As soon
They'll
as
pay
they,
as soon as it
they get
gets
through
through paperwork.
the
Right.
paperwork, okay.
I don't have a problem.
I don't have a problem supporting them,
Um,
education.
We've never had an issue with getting the grant money before.
I guess the only question we did have is when they refused to fulfill service, or they didn't finish the course, didn't they bill them directly?
The
Yes,
state
yes,
does.
yes,
State.
the state does.
State does.
That's the only problem that I know that we've had, that
I think
One
the
person.
state paid us, they just recouped it from the,
Right, that's how I understand it, and when I came on board in January 16, I got involved with a couple of those that hadn't fulfilled their contract, and the state requested some information, and I sent that back to them, and I didn't hear anything more back from them,
I
so
think they aggressively go after it.
that's my understanding. The other thing, there's, at the end, there's roughly, well, not roughly, there is $255 a student test fee and a certification fee, and I don't know what all fee, that's not any part of this. That's in addition to, what I promised these people is at the end of their contract fulfillment that we'll reimburse them for that $255, because I think they should have some investment in themselves.
Well, we pay all the research fees and stuff now.
Yeah,
on
right.
everything, so.
Well, I think that's what we've done in the past.
Is
Yeah.
this for volunteer work though, or are they potentially obtaining a job out of this? That's my question.
I don't know.
Hard to tell, they may be looking for a job, eventually. It's hard to know. For now, they'll just be, we don't have to put them on full-time if that's your question.
No, I'm just wondering what kind of contractual agreement will exist that they are going to give us any time whatsoever out of our investment is all.
They do.
20
They do.
hours a month.
20
20
hours.
We
a
said that
month. It's
earlier.
240 hours in a year they're supposed to.
And if they don't.
I'm
they're
sorry if I missed that. I apologize.
If they don't, they're in default of their contract with the state. The state,
20 hours a month for 1 year
Right.
from the completion date of their
Or
certification.
No, from their certification date.
Certification. So they
Right.
have to pass the
They
certification.
have to pass their test. And then
And-
once they get certified and have a Kansas card, then we can use them. Until then, if they don't pass the first time, and I can't. Again, this is an agreement, part of the contract with the state. They have to test once in order to fill their obligation. If they don't pass that first test, then I think they're off the hook. So,
most of them are going to, don't go through the class to take the test once. They'll go back and take it again if they have to.
well, you would think, but I've seen it
It's a-
happen that they
it's a
didn't. I've seen it happen that they didn't ever go test.
Yeah.
I can't answer for people, I don't know.
If you would be so kind as to repeat yourself, what portion of this is being potentially reimbursed by grant?
All of it.
100%?
By the state,
By the
the
state.
1150 will be reimbursed by the state, that's the amount of the EIG grant. And incentive education grant is what that,
4,600 out of 4,900.
46. The 49 is lab fees, that's in addition to that.
But we're going to assume that cost.
Yeah. State does this to try to,
When is the last
Help
time that
out
we've
the-
done this?
we've done it every class we've
Every time
ever
I've ever
had.
had students in a class who've done
So-
this, as far as I know.
3 years ago was the last
I don't know,
class.
Derek had a class that he put together, that just had like 2 students in it, but they
Yeah, I
got
think
EIG
they
money.
started with 3 or 4, but we did get in a full-time employee out of that class,
Tommy, yeah.
Tommy Nat.
So we pay it up front, potentially get this reimbursement of 4,600 and
Yeah.
assume the cost of the additional 300.
Yeah.
And then they have, after their certification, 1 year of 20 hours a month on-call volunteer. Is that
Yeah,
they're
that's
scheduled to be on call?
That's my plan, to use them on
Not
call.
20 hours in time, just 20 hours of
Right,
availability.
right, I can use them, they
Right.
can be at home and have a radio and some
And
kind of.
it's 240 hours, they could do it in less than 12
Well,
hours.
Oh,
that's kind of
240
gray
hours
area with the
total.
state.
Not clear.
Yeah,
State says
to me, that's the way I interpreted it, but I've had them, like Tommy, when he started, he worked these 240 hours just a short time, because
Yeah.
he started here full-time pretty shortly. And
Oh, yeah.
so I sent his paperwork in that he completed his obligation, and then I got it back and say, no, that he's gotta be there a year, so. I assume if he
He
does.
completed his hours part of it, he just didn't complete the
The
year.
year,
part
I
of it.
assume that, and I don't know, I'm guessing that if you get your 240 and you still gotta stay on the roster for your year, and then,
You need a motion to approve this.
Yes.
I would move to approve payment to the EMS instructor.
I'll second.
And moved in second to approve payment in anticipation of the grant, I guess, too, so. Any discussion?
My question is, what fund does this come from? Contractual, or what is the,
Yes.
does this come directly from the EMS budget to contractual line item? Okay.
Yep.
I'd also like to have something on the record about the 255 at the end of their fees and their reimbursement. Can I get something,
Oh,
can I get a motion on that? Or
we'll
do I need-
We'll do that.
a separate motion.
Separate motion. Okay, we have a motion to pay the cost for these 4 students for their EMS education. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I would propose that we pay the testing fees and what else was it?
Certification fee.
Certification fee and testing fees for
255
the students at 255.
at the end of their contract.
At the end of the contract period, yeah, once they fulfill their contract.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and second to, once these students have fulfilled their obligation to the county, that they be reimbursed for their testing fees and certification fees. Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. So how's it going, Bret?
It's going.
How did you advertise for this?
Didn't. Just word of mouth, and it was all over Facebook, and these people came in and were interested, so this class came up in Bennington. I worked on getting it. I talked to a couple of instructors about putting the class together here, and didn't really get any interest, so this class came up in Bennington. They had a few openings, and so
I think they're gonna come here part of the time, is that right?
No.
Oh, they're not?
they're all going to Bennington every night. They originally started out, they were gonna come here part of the time, but the fire department has got a firefighter 1 class pending, and they're gonna be using
yeah.
classroom on alternating nights, so
Do you know where they're teaching this in Bennington?
Bennington Fire Station.
At the fire station?
Mhm.
I'll check with the instructor, I need some recert hours, so.
I have that schedule, I'll post it on the bulletin board inside the hallway door down there.
Okay.
Yeah, 6 to 10 on Monday and Wednesday. You get research hours for any night, but if you look at the schedule, you can kind of tell what they're supposed to be doing that night. Or Matt's phone number's on there too, I think. Oh, I don't see it. I can get that for you, or I have that for you now. if you
That's
want.
fine, I can check in with you later.
Okay. All I got.
Brandon, somebody will know.
How about business? Are we making a lot of runs or
Oh, no, it's been pretty slow.
pretty slow?
Hit and miss, you know how that goes. You know, get
Mhm.
one, you get
Yeah,
3 sometimes,
yeah.
then you go a week without one. We went to interstate the other night and had 2 that didn't even get home from the first one, went back to the interstate, so you just never know. We have put Jerry on, of course, full-time, replaced Derek, and still look for someone to replace Roxanne. Applications aren't just flooding in, so,
Where are you advertising?
yeah, I know. Deborah does, I don't know, we're on the state website, it's in the local paper, and it's, I don't remember where else, you know where else, well,
I think there's an EMS, the state site.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
and
state site.
County site.
I've seen it on the region side too. In the past, I haven't looked this time.
I have a couple of shifts, I'm a little busy for the next couple of weeks, but then I'll be freed up if you need me.
I got
I got a couple of shifts this week, I think.
I had a pretty good contribution from the part-timers this month, so I got the November schedule tentatively. I had to move some of the full-time people around, or I'm gonna talk to them about it before I put the schedule out, but the couple of them a couple days, and so, I know one said he didn't have any problem with it, but the other one I've talked to, and I don't expect to talk from him.
I'm under the impression from a conversation at the commission meeting that we were having some issues that could have potentially resulted in some executive session on non-elected employee situations. Is there something that?
I don't understand the question.
It was alleged that some of our employees may not be fit for their jobs, and or former
I don't
employees
think
were not
anybody
fit.
alleged, nobody alleged anything like that.
When I asked you why we wouldn't be using certain people for volunteering, you said there was a problem with them. That's the word you used, I believe, was problem. And I said, you said it would need to be an executive session.
Do you have employees, and you run your family business, don't you? Do you have employees?
Yes,
Okay. Do any of them ever quit?
yes.
Or any of them, would you rehire them? I mean, do you have a criteria for rehiring them? If they give you sufficient notice and stuff, would you rehire one of them?
I wasn't aware that someone who volunteers is seeking to be hired.
The person, the one you're discussing, was a full-time employee.
Right, and what I'm saying is, I'm under the impression that we are not using any volunteer hours from anyone who has been a former employee.
If you let me finish, maybe you'll understand. In my business, I had a number of employees through the years that quit. Some of them came back, some of them started their own businesses, and I, in fact, loaned them equipment to start their own businesses. But myself, as with any company that I have ever worked for, and that I have any knowledge of, when you quit and give notice, you're in good standing. When you quit with no notice, you're not in good standing.
What would you consider an adequate notice for someone in this position that is gonna quit? What would you consider an adequate notice? Or reasonable and adequate notice?
You'd always like to have more time to contemplate the situation, but I think 2 weeks is pretty standard. I don't know what the situation is.
So you're in agreement that less than a day is not probably the right thing?
So you're saying we have had a walkout?
I'm not saying anything, I'm asking you a question. You're of the opinion that less than 24 hours is not adequate notice, or not a reasonable notice?
I'm of the opinion that the EMS is not a business. I am of the opinion that it's an emergency service, that it's a service to be provided. And I'm also of the opinion that if someone has proven themselves to have knowledgeable and applicable skills to the situation, that when I've been lectured by yourself and Mr. Finch and other people in the service, that we are destitute for volunteers, that we have absolutely none, and we're always desperate. I would think that someone quitting their job would become a personal issue with the employment, but would not necessarily deem them unfit for emergency activities where they have resources and years of experience.
Okay.
If you don't want to hire, I can understand if as a manager, I can understand you don't want to hire someone who did not give an adequate notice, if that's what you're saying. If you had a standard, release time and said, I want 3 weeks notice or et cetera. I mean, do they have an employee contract like that says they're required to give a certain?
Just a county handbook, which technically doesn't require notice, so.
Right, so they're not really
It suggests 2 weeks, I believe.
But it's not a technical violation. And my question is,
No, it's an ethical violation.
does that negate their abilities to perform in an emergency situation where we may need a quote-unquote volunteer who doesn't get paid?
I don't have the answer to that. I don't know. To me, it speaks to their character, so.
To me, it speaks to the internal workings of the administrative hierarchy.
Okay, fair enough. Everybody's got their opinion.
I just wanted some clarification on that issue because I was in the dark, so.
Morning.
Anything else, Bret? Everything's running
Yes.
today, huh?
So far, so good. Hopefully we'll get some applicants.
Yep.
How much did the repairs amount to on 34?
1,600 and should have been a bill for it. Can't tell you an exact number.
and no other issues with it currently.
They're currently both in service.
Till you turn the key and start it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Then there may be.
with those old 6.0s, it's not a question of if it's gonna break down, it's when it's gonna break down. Michael?
I would agree with that.
Well, we can be thankful we don't have to rely on horseback then.
Okay, well, thank you, Brett.
Think about time. Thank you.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
Thanks.
Excuse me.
hey, Michael.
We got our total from Purple Wave on the equipment we sold this year, and it comes to $101,085. Be able to put that money in for equipment to replace next year.
It looked like everything brought decent money
It was fair. I was
for what it was.
hoping for just a little bit more, but with an auction, you never can guarantee it. But
I think it's about,
Yeah, let
It
me-
was-
everything was pretty much in line with
Yes.
what we've done before.
yes.
I think you have one part of the segment of our local society that is not doing right. And I think, you know, that probably hindered some bits coming in. I mean,
There's trickle down.
you know,
most
the
definitely.
fact that
That,
agricultural sector is not performing at a very profitable level right now, so
A
you
lot of
don't
that.
get the farmers or the people that wanting this equipment bidding.
Correct.
a lot of that equipment goes out of the country too, and there was a major disruption at the port,
Yeah.
so.
And some of this stuff is going out of the country too.
Large amount of that equipment goes out of the country. That's why we had to go to South Africa that time to get a spindle for a motor grader,
Correct. Correct.
which still amazes me, as many of them as there is in the country, and there is no spindle available in the United States.
Now, was this listing in this process something that you did personally or Liz did?
I do all that.
What were you hoping for as a total?
As far as the grand total goes,
Uh-huh.
you know, it's 5 to 10,000 what I was guessing maybe. You know, ultimately, I just thought the 2 motor graders would have brought anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 more. You know, I was hoping. But everything else still probably as well as it's going to.
But the loader with a bad transmission brought a little more. than I thought.
Very true there too. Very true. Yeah, that's the power of an auction. You just never know.
Someone
Two
had,
people
either
interested.
someone had a transmission or they were needing the engine out of it, one or the other.
And last year we applied for the off-system bridge program, and we were selected for the Goldenrod Bridge that should get replaced next year. We went ahead and applied this year to get another bridge replaced, and we did not qualify for that, which was pretty much a given. It didn't cost us anything to apply, so it's worth a try. But every other year, as a trend, we've been successful in getting awarded, so I'm gonna say next year we will be awarded. So. And I visited with Lonnie at K.S.A, and he advised that there's approximately 3,000 tons of millings that they'd be willing to get rid of. Somewhere in that neighborhood, give or take 400 to 500. And that's at $8 a ton. So roughly $24,000 to $25,000. We could build our stockpile back up.
Do they have it?
We're not low yet. It all depends on what we're gonna end up using those material for. Initially, when we bought that material, it was to be used to start building a lot up there and have a asphalt surface, weed-free, and
mud-free to store our materials on. And we do not have enough there to accomplish that now. We have used that material on some road surfacing. We used some of that material the 1 year to recycle for coal mix. And I'm not saying that we couldn't do that again, I just don't think that the company that did it last time will be doing it for us this next time.
Do they have a timeline? Has to be out of there by?
No, they don't.
Where's it at on their lot?
It's on their lot here in Lincoln, and if we desire more than that, they do have a similar pile up near Hunter. They'd be willing to get rid of some of that too if we decide we wanted more.
Let's see, what was it? Didn't they offer us some other one time? Is that?
We hauled it from the Hunter area last time, and I
Yeah.
believe we paid around $5 for that.
So is this something that we have to make a decision on quickly?
Not today, no.
Quickly, or is it gonna be available for us for a while? Or?
I think it'll be available to us for a while. You know, if we wanted to wait till after the first year, we can.
Well, I think, it would behoove us to wait until December anyway to just make sure that where our cash flow is adequate to do something like this.
Yes.
So,
I would totally agree with that.
I guess.
Yeah, winter would be a good time to move it.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah, we
away
wouldn't
from
have
doing
much
other
freight on
things.
it. And then I did visit with Saline County on their rock and gravel issue. They do not have any pits that they use themselves. They're buying all of this stuff out of the Woodbine Quarry. They are buying what's called an SS5, and they are paying $18.33 a ton to have it delivered to their yard.
Who delivers it?
I'm sure they just contract with somebody that's
Probably
already.
Johnson.
Okay.
Probably Johnson.
And then they have to in turn add additional freight onto that from their lot to the road when they lay it.
Yeah. They're stockpiling it.
Yes. And they also do that some with sand, which is $14.90 a ton. And then an AB3 rock, which is $10.95 a ton plus the $6.88 to haul it. So they're looking at, what is that, $17.83, which would be 50 cents higher than the SS5. So they're paying roughly $6.88 a ton for delivery. And I'm guessing that would almost be close to double that. I'm not exact sure on the location of the Woodbine pit
Maybe
to
about
Saline
twice,
County.
pretty close to twice as
Pretty
far.
close to twice to here, so. They might not charge quite twice, but it definitely wouldn't be the same. It's about 50 miles round trip for them, so it'd be a little bit over that, I guess. Other than that, that's all I have today.
You don't have Ottawa County? You haven't heard from Ottawa yet?
No. I'm still waiting on him. That's all I have.
Bob, what do you got?
Guess I don't have a whole lot there, working on that bridge on 20th Road, 470, trying to get the water pumped out, trying to get it dried out, wherever get in there, get a footing formed up and up the wall that's caving off, where it's wing walls, letting the cave edge of the road off there, trying to get work on that. And then some spot graveling around on several different roads around here. on 80th Road today, east of Sylvan, it's a quarter-mile stretch there, spotting in some on it, where it's kind of bad. Did some down by Vesper area, towards Gerald Hills, the road through there was been cutting up bad, and on back to the south, up through there.
Where we took those trees out and cleaned the ditching. Where are we getting those? Still?
Well, we got a little of it, we had a little bit left in Block's Pit, we hauled a little bit of it on some spots around Block's Pit there, and right in that area by Ansel's and through there, spotted in some places, and then we ran out, so we're hauling Wolf Creek now. That's the only place we've got any piles now until we find some more.
Are we gonna do some more blocks, or are we just gonna abandon it altogether?
We tested all around and we can't find anything. We found a few pockets of just pure sand, and that was all we could find. And so, other than getting a rock and this little pile of gravel we had in there out of there,
It's done.
it's
What about on Myers? Wasn't that to the west there that you tested?
South and west.
So,
And
there's, I can't remember, about maybe 8,000 to 9,000 yards. We were just one little strip kind of running around the hill there.
a lot of
And
sand.
so I don't know, it was pretty sandy too. And so I don't know whether they decided whether they were tearing up their field or.
Yeah.
And we wanna do some more testing on some additional areas of the block pit. Right there, close is where we tested, but there's some over across the highway that we wanted to do some testing on yet also.
Yeah, there's some showing and some knobs around there, so we wanted to get in there and test. Give it a chance.
We don't have any on Spillman, do we? Along the Spillman Creek anymore, we've never found any pits along Spillman.
We had that up there on Hoddings there for a long time, but it got pretty well where it wasn't too good a quality of stuff left in there either. So, and I don't know, I still keep saying there's gotta be some up and down through there. So far, we haven't come up with any.
Yeah, that's what I just kinda thought that it probably might be some along Spillman somewhere.
Yeah, I keep thinking of have all them draws coming there, there gotta be some settlement in there somewhere.
Max continues to think that there's some up north in Mitchell County on us. When you're out testing, if you wanna go up there, he can go up there with you and tell you, but
Okay.
we would, I think probably, my brother would allow it, I don't know. But you know, that would be a possibility if you want to check it out. I can't believe there is, but
That's what it is, it just don't look quite like
it
the
doesn't
right
look, it
situation
doesn't
for
look
me.
like it could, but there is a significant amount of water that came down, or used to come down through there,
Yeah.
kind of a beginning
There
of a
may
creek.
be some little pockets in
Yeah,
there,
but
but it'd be enough to tell you.
I think you're gonna
up.
get into limestones, what I think you'll get just immediately, so. Cause there's quarries up in there, so.
Yeah, like I say, they'd get, wanna get.
But that's a long
test
ways from this area of the county.
Yeah. And I need to get with Lad, and he said there's still a little bit piled, they had piled way back over on his dad's, back in there. There's still a little pile there, and he thinks there's some more on back in there, so I need to get with him and go back there and do some looking on that and see just what we got there. Maybe do some testing.
Did you figure on how much gravel needs to address that issue that I said on the hill at the south end of 30th?
What, wipers there where we put the pipe in?
No, go south on 30th almost to 181, where it goes west to the lake. Last week I had said that I had some
Oh.
complaints about that rock ledge on that hillside.
You
Like
come down on 181, where comes 30th.
where
comes up
30th
on-
connects to it, yeah.
I was
That's,
down through there the other day when I went up there to the lake, looking at some issues up there, and there was all kinds of rock on there at that time. It didn't look bad at all to me then. There was a spot back down the road a little bit there where Gary had kind of shaved his shoulders a little, but it looked a little dirty, but I didn't really see it. It looked that bad right there. Right now, it looked like it had.
Just on that hill, on the slope where it's wearing through, there's no gravel on top of that rock, so you get the rock ledge.
Almost a mile north of 181
Yes.
highway then?
Yes,
Okay. Say that hill's back there ways.
yes, yes.
The rock ledge is exposed.
Coming
Yes.
onto the highway. Yeah.
As if it just needs some cover, you know, gravel, because I'm sure it washes some, but.
Yeah, I thought you were talking right coming on.
No, I'm sorry. I said south end, but I didn't mean right where it can, yes. About almost a mile north, or maybe even a little further, I guess, if that's a mile in, maybe not.
Put something on there or something there, like I say, because they're hauling right up in that area today, so it should finish up in one spot, so I can probably maybe catch a little while we're there.
Okay. Did you happen to finish that rock, or the pit map that we talked about? You were making a map of the pits.
I've been going 100 different directions and I haven't got it all down there.
But you have a map that you use, or you're trying to copy that map, or you're creating a map?
Well, I don't have one, because I just know where all the pits are and stuff, I really don't have one down.
One hanging in the old office yet? All the pits on it?
I don't know whether it's over there or not. Yeah.
Should be.
In the shop?
Our old office, yeah. Couple of the new ones might not have been updated, but.
Okay, anything else? Jerry, you got anything? No. Alexis, you got anything? Good boys.
Yeah, I just wondered what the project is that you're doing. I think it's, what, 220th, is that the one just east of the golf course there?
One you guys sent me, give me a letter on to do.
And that was Mr. Jefferson.
Mr. Jeffers' request.
He was in here several months ago. Had some
Had
requests.
several problems.
Uh-huh.
Concerns anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering what the solution is for that road. I mean, what is that golf course road across there? Milo. And so then we're going about 2 miles and a half a mile west. So 2.5 miles, probably.
While we're working out
Just
there.
did some spot gravel there.
Just doing some spots. He wanted these spots fixed in because he used it. Got about 3 or 4 tenants that use it, check cattle and haul material out of it.
So do we have?
We had an opportunity to try to get that done, so we just spotted those places in.
Do we have an estimated cost on that project?
No.
Just spot gravel on it.
Yeah. He just had about, I think, 12, half a dozen places or so he requested it. Boys got a couple spots that I wasn't figuring on, but not that much.
I went out there. It was a pretty good stretch of that whole section there. The whole, you know.
Yeah, like I say, there was lots of spots to see there.
Yeah,
He
quite a few
requested-
sections of good 100 yards or so
They were all
plus.
clear black, there wasn't no gravel left on them, and so that's the reason he was hollering about wanting something done to it.
Looked like a pretty good road to me. I mean, it's pretty solid. I
The
wasn't out
roads-
there. I wasn't out there when he made his request, so I can't tell you that. But I did go and look at it.
Yeah, the road's solid, but like I said, there just wasn't no gravel left on some of the spots.
So I guess my question would be back to the whole department and how we're prioritizing. I guess we got a letter, and so you decided that you'd put some new gravel on the road. How are we deciding if we're talking about trying to go out of county even to find gravel? how are we deciding how we're doing these projects? I mean, from what I drove, there isn't a house on that road.
Yes, there is.
Yes, sir.
Where is that?
At the end of
Clear
it,
back to the
That's a
west.
house?
yes, he lives
Building
there.
site back there in the house. He stays out there part of the time.
Mm-hmm. So not a year-round dwelling?
I don't know how often he stays there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good stretch of road for one place. And you just do that on request. I had a few other people say that they've been able to call in and just kind of request gravel. And you've been very expedient with your responses, and that's great.
If we're working in an area and stuff, we try to, we can fill their request. Sometimes we're off in the part of the county and don't get there right away.
This year the weather really has not been conducive for us to do what I'd say normal year's operations. You know, we haven't been able to go in and re-elevate some roads and do miles of gravel at a time. It's been a lot of spot graveling. We've had quite a bit of rock placement, I guess I could say, the material that we've used out of Courthouse this year and stuff like that.
So have you started a map of sections where you're going to continue to try that concrete? I mean, has that been satisfactory for what you've chosen to use it for, the crushed
I believe
concrete?
it's working real well. And,
Seems
you
to
know,
be.
it's one of those deals where, I guess putting a map together, it's one of those deals that you find them when it rains, you know, or after a rain, and then we can address it.
Right, oh, definitely, I
Um,
agree. You can't see it all the time.
We used some more, gosh, just last week, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
South of town here, there's about 3 locations we put it on a dirt road. It seems to be doing all right.
Well, if you'll just hear me out for a minute, you know, if we don't have a map to show us exactly where you're going to be spreading X amount of concrete throughout the county, whether you do it this year or 20 years from now, it doesn't matter, okay? But to make a plan, if we would see that a mile here, a mile there, X miles times B tons of gravel, yards of gravel, concrete, crushed concrete, okay? We spend $80,000 to crush that concrete. And we're having an issue in the commission right now with the highway department. I'm not putting the blame on you. It's the commission's ordeal, okay? But we're having an ordeal where we're trying to decide how much money we are or are not going to spend for a particular request to gravel a road. Yet, we have not a clue how much money we are actually going to spend to distribute that crushed concrete.
First off, we crushed the concrete because of the room problem at the landfill.
It wasn't where we was gonna fit it.
It wasn't to gain the material, it was to get rid of the pile of concrete.
It's still an expense to the county, Terry, no matter
Yeah,
how
it
you
is.
look at it.
And they were utilizing it where they can. But the main objective was to create room at the landfill.
And I want you to
Because it had
hear,
never
I
been
want you to
done.
hear yourself.
The entire time that landfill had been there, that stuff had been piling up for years.
But I want you to hear yourself. We're willing to spend $80,000 to make room for ourselves at the landfill, but we're not willing to accommodate someone who is putting in a business and a home paying taxes in our county.
We were out of space to pile at the landfill. It was
Regardless.
cutting into the metal pile, it was cutting into the tree pile.
You think it would have cost more than $80,000 to have our own guys move some stuff around? To
but
create
we
some more
gained-
space?
But we gained some material that could be used in other places.
So now here we are back to the material, and that's what I'm saying. If we have not a clue how much is potentially going to be used or what it's going to cost us, we can spread that crushed concrete all we want. It's the same hauling cost that we're trying to charge out to the individual. So it costs us not only the crushing of the concrete, now we have to transport it and spread it. So add additional cost onto that $80,000 to see where we're using it. And what I'm telling, like I said, the decision to gravel that road or not does not come down to you, and I understand that. And Michael, you expressed that to me before. Whatever the commission says is what you're gonna do, and I understand that. So I'm not trying to put that issue on you. What I'm saying is, without the highway department having a map and X, equals Y on this map to show us how much that concrete is gonna cost, how can I have a logical conversation with the other people here if they don't even know what they've approved to spend on just the crushed concrete and where we're gonna put it? Do you see what I'm saying?
The places that you're putting that, would you have put another material in those places?
Probably would not have.
Because you didn't have an adequate material?
Because they're not gravelled roads, because it's mud. And it's been
That's
mud.
always,
The byproduct of crushing that concrete was not a quality that I guess I envisioned in my mind. If we would have had pure concrete piled out there and we did not have the dirt piled with it, then we would have had a material that I would say would be suitable for some of our gravelled roads. But that product did not get achieved to what I pictured it in my mind. Therefore, we got a different byproduct from the initial planning of the crushing. Yes, we went into it with the assumption that, yes, we can use this byproduct somewhere in the county. That's a great thing to be able to do, is recycled material. But whether it's sitting in a pile or marked on a map, it will get used someday as the need arises.
And we don't know the cost to us, is what I'm saying. We're here having a discussion and a
It
disagreement
was
about
around
cost to the county.
$80,000 to crush it.
And for every section and every truckload that you haul out of there is an additional cost according to your calculations. Because we have to pay man hours, and we have to pay fuel, and we have to pay upkeep on the vehicles, and we have service contracts on the vehicles, and we have administrative time on top of that. So it's a lot more than $80,000 to be able to use that material, and $80,000 is more than 2 employees' salary for the year.
They're not hauling it out there just to get rid of it.
As the
and
need
we're not
arises.
gonna make a map and say we're going here and here, because like this spring, we had 20 roads closed because springs broke out in them that we haven't had since I've been here. So I can't say we're gonna go here, here, here. We gotta make a map of where we're going with that kind of material.
But Bob, you've been here long enough to know where the old spots are that have been popping up with springs for the last 10 years that have been habitual problems. You know that just in your
As
head.
it becomes a problem, we're addressing it if we've had time.
Yeah. Like
But
I say,
there's-
Without knowing the cost is what I'm getting at. Without knowing the cost. That's what I'm saying. From a managerial standpoint, you have to pre-calculate the cost. It doesn't, for some reason, every time I talk about a plan, you say, well, you never know what's going to happen. That's a given in life. That's just a life lesson. You just know that. But without a plan, you cannot assess. That's why we do our budget the year before. Because you tentatively plan what the expenses are going to be. And if you're saying you're not going to do a map, or you've never done a map, or we don't have a map, then we'll never know the cost. But here we are bickering about, $10,000 worth of gravel on a road where someone pays close to that amount probably in his yearly property tax for that area.
Is there some sort of a course that you could take to tell you where a spring might pop up in a road?
I haven't found one yet.
Are you insinuating that every year, that every spring has been taken care of?
No, but I'm insinuating that they pop up in places they haven't been in years, if ever.
What
That's
does
why
that have
I
to
just
do
got
with
through
making-
telling you, we closed 20 roads this year that we never have before. They
But-
just popped up out of the blue, and how the hell do we know?
We had a lot of flooding this spring. More than we've had.
Springs aren't flooding.
No. No.
Springs will
That's
pop
what I'm
up
talking
when
Okay,
it's
do we
dry.
understand
You can have
groundwater?
a spring pop up in a drought.
Yeah.
You're trying to tell me we didn't have a lot of flooding this spring?
I didn't say that. I said the springs aren't in relation to the flooding.
Oh, they absolutely are, Terry. The groundwater aquifer fills, the levels rise and ebb and flow depending on what the rain precipitation is.
Okay, then you explain to me how my employer has a double pond south of Vesper that was almost completely dry through the drought, and all of a sudden the springs started running and filled those two ponds up.
Because
So what did that have to do with flooding?
because rain precipitation that happens to the southwest of us flows north and east into our aquifer and fills it. And when those pockets get full, they burst through the surface. I mean, it's basic geology. It's not rocket science. It doesn't mean you get rain. You don't get rain right on top of your pond to fill it, and you don't get rain directly to the north that flows into it. There's an underground aquifer, and there are many in this area. Actually, we're kind of lucky to be on that ridge in Kansas. But regardless, that doesn't have to do with planning a cost. You have to plan a cost, and what I'm saying is we crushed the gravel and spent that money. And I know you can tell me that it came out of the landfill's budget and etc. It's still a cost to the county, and we're squabbling and potentially facing some sort of litigation over $10,000 worth of gravel versus not knowing what we're gonna do and having no plan for $80,000 worth of material plus hauling costs on top of that at what, $4 a yard or something is the haul, $5 a yard. If we're paying $1 a square yard, a cubic yard, excuse me, if we're paying $1, then we're calculating our cost to be $5 on top of that, correct? To say the final cost is $6. So every cubic yard of concrete, take its cost of 80,000 divided by how many cubic yards we have, plus $5 a cubic yard on top of that, and that's what it's costing the county to spread that in these mud pits that otherwise we haven't.
That's not true.
Why is that?
Because when we calculate it for gravel, that's the stripping with the dozer charge, the piling with the dozer charge, and the loading with the loader charge, as well as the trucking.
Okay, so
Or
we
actually,
still have
the
to load
trucking-
it.
The trucking's not included in that at all, actually.
So then we still have to load it. So piling, we're not stripping it and piling it. So that's that's part of the 80,000. So, but you're just saying the trucking's not included. So you still have the loading and the hauling and the labor. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's still an increase on top of that, and we had no plan for it. And if you'll remember, when you first came in with the bids on the concrete crushing, I asked what the plan was for it. And that was in what, February?
We were hoping that would work. Common sense would tell you would try to recycle it if you can. And we are recycling it, it's just not going to be used the way we intended it.
And all I'm saying is the commission invested $80,000, and now we're squabbling over 10. See what I'm saying?
That's not Michael's issue.
What I'm saying
I don't know why
is,
you're sitting here berating him with it. because
I'm
he
not
has nothing
berating,
to do-
I'm explaining
He has
why.
absolutely nothing to do with that decision.
I'm explaining
No, you're
why,
not. You're sitting here battering him.
because I'm explaining why it's necessary to have a map and a plan for a highway department.
They don't know where the springs are gonna pop up. They've told you that. How many times do they have to tell you that? You don't like the answer they give, just like you do with me, so you keep asking the question.
It's common sense to ask the question in a different term
They
if you don't
gave you the
understand the
answer.
question.
They gave you their answer a long time ago, 15 minutes or more ago. You
Anything
guys got
else?
stuff to do?
I have nothing else to do.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good week.
Yeah.
Sounds like maybe we'll have a freeze end of the week, so.
There's a lot of gravel in this county, you guys just don't know where it is. I've dug it up with my dozer and covered it back up,
What'd you cover it back up for?
because I'm not selling it to you.
Oh, okay.
And it isn't on my property, it's on other property.
Oh,
I've had neighbors out there, Norm, if you come, and it's there.
so we need to talk to your neighbors?
You don't know where they are.
Oh,
They don't wanna sell it.
they don't wanna sell it?
Well, tell them to sell it to Saline
They
County
have
because
good
they're
gravel,
paying
they don't wanna
$18.
sell it to us to put on the road, but they wanna
Exactly,
complain
because the
about
way
the
you
road.
guys treat them, the way you treat these landowners, and it isn't me. They said, no, we're not selling it to them. And there's a lot of gravel.
Okay, let's move on. I guess we're ready for Alexis. And LaDonna's coming in at 9:45, so. Or I guess, is it 9:45 or 10 o'clock?
9:45,
Okay.
or we can call her 10 if you want.
I move for the Lincoln County Commission to create a strategic plan for fiscal year 2018.
The motion, do I have a second? Motion dies.
I move to publish a newsletter from the commission in attempt to inform the public of our objectives and financial priorities.
Do I have a second? Motion dies for lack of second.
I move to request an annual report of activities for quantification by department.
Do I have a second? Motion dies for lack of second.
Okay, my question, Dawn, this is for you. Tell me if I'm missing it, but I wanted to know why the maps aren't on the site yet, on the county website. Am I just missing them? Because I've been on there.
No, we just haven't had time. And USD 298's, that's not our map, so.
Well, I mean, you're the registered elected official for even the school districts, so that's still a county.
No, I'm just required to do their elections.
Right,
So,
right.
and another aspect of it is when I have time, I'll do it, and if I don't, I won't. But I would like
It's
to
already been decided. The board already voted on it.
you can't tell me as an elected official what to do.
Yes, we absolutely can decide what goes on the website.
No, you cannot.
Yes, we can decide what goes
No,
on the
you
website.
cannot. You cannot tell me what to do.
I'm not telling you what to do, Dawn. I'm telling you that we
You
already
cannot tell my
voted.
elected office what to do. And by you,
Well, then I'd be glad to put it on the website then. That would be great. I would be glad to do that. You don't have to do it, Dawn. We made a decision as a board. You cannot negate that decision just because you don't want to. No, we
have
made.
the authority to order
Yeah.
her to do.
We
anything.
absolutely have the authority to put something on the
We
website,
don't
None of
have
it
Terry.
the
has anything to
authority
do with my
tell
office.
her to do anything.
I'm not telling her to. I just told you.
Yeah,
I'd be
you
glad
were.
to do. Would you like me to do it then? Because I'd be glad to do it.
no, because you won't have access to our website.
Why would I not have access to the website?
Because you are not a county employee.
You're not a county employee. You're an elected official. We are elected officials. Everyone at this table is an
And
elected official.
I don't take care of the website.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I
I
have
would
my
be
section.
happy. I would be happy to contact the website and get the map to them and have it put on there. We already made the decision to do that. So, would you like me to do that then,
I
since
don't think we-
her office
I
doesn't
don't
want
remember
to?
setting a deadline for getting it done.
I'm not worried about a deadline. I'm asking you, do you want me? I would gladly
Apparently
do
you are,
it.
and I don't remember setting a deadline to have it done. I think she said when she got time, she would do it.
Well, I'm not worried about her doing it. I'll do it.
I think
You
she
will not be
said
contacting our
when she
vendors.
had time, she would do it.
Terry, I'm not worried about her doing it. It has nothing to do with her anyhow. It's the website for the county. Don Harlow does not own the website for the county.
And neither does Alexis Blue.
I didn't say that I did. You're the one telling me what can or cannot be done. The board already
But
decided
her
to
office,
put the maps
her
on.
office does the website.
And I'd be glad to do that.
I think it's sufficient having her office do it.
Well, on that note, I move to provide computer and network access to commissioners as individuals compensated by county tax funds as provided for all other elected officials.
Do I have a second? Motion dies.
So you have not had computer access.
I don't think we need computer access.
So you've never had computer access and you've been a commissioner for how many years?
I don't think I need access to the county's computer.
So you've been a commissioner for what, 4 terms? Is
I
this your?
don't think I need access to the county's computer system. I think it's a secured system, it needs to stay that way.
It has nothing to do with security. Everyone in this building in one of these offices is an elected official for a 4-year term, just as any of us are. It's no different. Because you keep being reelected does not give any other precedent. There is no, you have no prestige because you've been elected multiple terms. Anyone in their elected capacity at that moment is an elected official, regardless of the office.
I don't have access to the sheriff's department files. I don't have access to the treasurer's files.
I didn't ask you,
I don't have
Dawn.
access.
I'm
It doesn't
talking
matter.
about-
I don't have
Excuse
access
me,
to these
I didn't ask
files.
you.
So therefore,
Dawn, I did not ask
why
you.
would you have access? Do you think
Because
you need
we
to
are
have
the-
access to every department?
We are the commissioners, and we need to know what's going on. What they're telling me is, so, Aljo, you're telling me that you have not had access and you have not seen any computers or networks in all the terms that you've been elected and been in this office.
Now, what do you want me to see?
Any of the reports, any of the findings, any of the information that's been input. You've never seen any of that in the computer or in the network.
No, I have not.
And Terry, you've never seen
No, I
any.
have not. I told you, I don't have any desire or need to have access to the county's computer system. I don't do anything as far as the day-to-day workings of that.
Do we have a seal? Do we have a commissioner's seal?
Do what?
Do we have a county seal? No, you've never.
No,
Okay.
because the county seal is the Lincoln County Clerk seal.
Okay. Well, I move to have Dawn forward our letter of recommendation that we approved with the county seal to the Historical Society. Did you get that in your email?
No. When did you send it?
Last Monday, probably after the meeting.
No. Did you get it to send? Because I never received an email from you.
I'll have to look at it. Would you like to inform the other commissioners about your?
Can we finish your
Sure.
motion? What?
Sure.
Move to have Dawn forward our letter
Oh,
of
I'm sorry, we
recommendation.
didn't
for-
vote.
What?
For the Historical Society. We already approved it, but we didn't send it according to what I know or what I've.
With the seal? You said with the seal?
Yes. Yes.
I guess I'm lost. I don't even know what the motion is about.
The Yowie House or whatever that, however you pronounce
I have
that.
not seen that letter.
Yes, we approved it.
No, I have not
2 weeks
seen
ago.
that letter, have I?
You approved to
I-
send course, or to a
Just-
letter of support.
Yes,
but-
right. And I
Yes.
have never seen the correspondence, have I?
No.
No, I didn't think so. And I will not forward anything that I have not seen the correspondence for, of support.
I have to sign it anyhow, won't I?
Well, I would think so. It would be appropriate. We have a motion. Do you want to read that motion, Dawn? So we
Move
can
to
see
have
it.
Dawn forward our letter of recommendation with the county seal to the Historical Society.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have a second? Motion dies for lack of second.
If you can produce the document, I would.
No, that's
approve it.
okay. You've already made your stance clear. That's okay.
I thought you were going to do it.
I did.
To present here,
That was never clarified.
What?
So you think that I am going to adhere my name to a letter that you wrote that I have no idea what is in the contents of?
I also think that you've spent years in this office without looking
Stole
at
it, Donna.
without looking at one document on the computer. That's what I think. And you've made it clear your stance on the issue, that you don't care.
We see all the documents that we need to see.
I see
I need to
that.
sit here and look at everything she does in her computer? No.
I didn't ask you that.
Good morning, Madonna.
Hi, LaDonna.
I just have some quick questions. We talked about replacing the county vehicle.
Mhm.
I haven't found the exact vehicle, I'm just showing you what we want to get.
You mean for the health department, are we
Yes.
talking about the health or the whole county?
The health department,
Health,
okay.
okay.
I mean, other people could use it.
Yeah, okay.
But Marcy Metz has one, and we measured it and drove it around and things like that. And then it's a GMC Terrain, the basic. I don't think we need all-wheel drive and leather seats and all that fancy stuff. We just need a basic.
You just need,
It's a 4-cylinder. If you go up to the all-wheel drive, it's a 6-cylinder, and the mileage goes from like 32 highway to 26 highway. I'd rather have better mileage, because I can't see that we would need all-wheel drive. And we looked at different vehicles in the same kind of size, but to keep the price down, you know, we can't afford a Honda or a CRV or something, you know, and we can't afford those kind of vehicles. Dodge Journey, that's a little big, too
so
big.
the seats lay down,
The
so you would
seats
have
lay
all
down.
up to the front.
Yeah, we could measure and stuff, but I did look around at several places, and I did call different places, and this is where I just am not sure where we're at. All three of them are called Abilene and McPherson and then Wichita, and they will give you a quote in their bottom line with their fee. Most of them have a $300, $400 fee for the paperwork part, but they won't hold them without a $1,500 hold to get an approval. So am I getting approval to purchase a car at a price and I can just do it, or do I have to bring back the exact car, the exact price, because they won't hold them?
You have money in your budget to do it.
I have capital outlay, I have like 46 or 43 something thousand.
So you're
I don't-
contemplating paying it
I think
outright.
Yeah,
I
I don't
think-
wanna spend more than 20,000, I don't wanna put our capital outlay any lower than that.
I would
So,
be comfortable authorizing you to purchase a vehicle if you could give me a price range.
well, between probably 18 and 20,000, 17 and 20,000, something like that. Because there's lots of them out there, it's just finding the best deal. Now, I did talk to McPherson, and you could see all their pictures online and everything, and yes, I would go drive it, but I could do a lot, just telephone and online. But I just, you know, when I say, can you fax me your bottom line with all your fees, that's when they say for a $500 hold, we will. And then I'm like, okay, so how am I supposed to do this? Because I'm not gonna
Is there
lose
something in your job description that
$500.
says like a minimum purchase amount that you have to get an approval from the board before you make a purchase?
I think in past there was, if it's over $250, that's not a nursing supply. Because, you know, ordering one vial vaccine is over $1,000, so I don't have to get permission for things like that, but odd things that are over $250, I think is what I've done in the past. I don't know if it says exactly.
I think that it's
But
commendable for you to come in and get that. I don't know what the $250 threshold has been. However, I was just explaining to them that my idea of a commissioner's job would be to oversee, you know, the quantity of things that are done and to know basically just an update of where we are with the funds and how things are going and what our services are, and just to get those kind of, I've asked them to ask you guys as department heads to kind of just give us reports so that we have an ongoing understanding. But I find that what we're constantly doing, and I'm not putting this on you particularly because I think you're just doing it out of habit, what you've done in the past, is coming in for permission to purchase items, and they're constantly telling me that they trust anyone's judgment who's been involved doing these things, and so I trust your judgment too, that you're gonna look for a good deal.
Yeah, if it's something I normally purchase, I do not come in and ask permission, I do what I feel is best.
Mm-hmm.
If
Are
it's
you
something
comfortable-
outside of that, then
Are you
I would.
comfortable just going and spending $20,000 on a vehicle without touching base with us?
Not unless I get permission to spend $20,000.
I think.
And the
some of what you- some of what you-
$500 hold, I'm not comfortable unless you say go ahead. I'd have had something already bought if I was comfortable with that. Now that we've done the research and I can say, okay, there's 100 of them to pick with between $18,000 and $20,000. There's not a whole lot of difference in where I go or what I do with it if I can have the permission to go ahead and do it. If I have to come back and ask for the specific vehicle, then I'm telling you, I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that because most of them will not give me that without a hold fee of $500.
I thought at the last meeting, when you came in and told us that you were having car trouble, that they told you to just go ahead and get it fixed.
Yes, and I could look for something else. That was in the same, yeah.
The
Because
repair was imminent, whether we sold it, traded it,
Yeah,
or drove it. It was,
nobody is comfortable driving it, even if it gets fixed. I'm not driving it out of town. It's old enough that I just prefer, I prefer that we sell it.
We had a Board of Health meeting. When was that? In March or April? What month was that?
probably February, March,
Somewhere in there. And I know you gave us the statistics, but you had said that, how long had it been since we had a Board of Health meeting?
We've never formally had a Board of Health meeting. That's not unusual. When I tried to find a county that had an agenda, nobody has had a formal Board of Health meeting with an agenda.
Okay, so then when is the last time the commission asked you for statistics, just to know, how many people have utilized our services, or how many people darken the door in a day, or have they ever asked you to provide that?
Yeah, well, just in how many flu shots have we given, or how much of this is going on or that going on. But
she normally comes in and gives
sometimes,
us.
usually I give you an annual kind of report of something.
I guess I was just trying to understand why we care what type of vehicle you're buying, but we don't care on a monthly basis what our census is.
I don't think you care what kind of vehicle I'm buying.
Yeah.
I think you care that I'm spending $20,000 of taxpayer money. That's all. My
Mm-hmm.
second.
You want a motion to authorize her to
My
spend
second
the money.
question is, and I'm not sure I exactly understand powertrain, but there's a 2-year, 125,000 mile powertrain warranty on most of them. At one place, they have a lifetime powertrain warranty.
Lifetime?
Yes. And I asked what that meant, and they said as long as it's titled to the person who buys it, as long as it's titled to Lincoln County, it has a lifetime powertrain.
Is that on a new one or?
No, they go back about 5 or 6 years. It kind of depends on the vehicle.
And they're not charging for a lifetime?
No. And then the other kink to this that I just have to know is, my daughter works for one of those car dealerships. Can I?
Is she selling you the vehicle?
No,
She's not a salesperson?
she is.
But she's not.
No, I don't think she should. But they're the ones with the lifetime warranty.
I
So
think-
if they're completely out because she works there, you need to tell me that so I can go on. The one they had she drove it and it's a smoker's vehicle and she knows I won't buy it, so they're off the table anyway. I just want to know if I want them to keep looking for me because they have a lifetime warranty on the powertrain. Is that worth it, or should I just go somewhere else that already has one and do the 2-year? I mean, I don't want to do anything inappropriate, so that's.
I think what we learned today in our conflict of interest law is that if you bid it out and there's indication of bids, that you can choose which one you would like, regardless of your
It's not
status.
really a bid.
Which I think as long as you're looking at multiple dealers, and whichever one comes up with the appropriate vehicle would be based.
The
on
way
Like
to obtain a bid is to
price
tell them,
is-
I want this vehicle, what is the price? And then they give you an official bid.
Well, but that's only for that moment. They're
Right.
not going to hold anything.
And it's
Without
only for
money.
that vehicle.
And it's only
Specific
for that
that
vehicle.
They're not bidding on the same vehicle,
And they'll do that,
same specs.
and they'll do that and put it on paper and give me something to bring back is questionable, without that $500 hold. So, I'm fine, if they're out, they're out. I'm just telling you, the only difference was the price. I think we can get pretty much the same anywhere. The only difference is the powertrain warranty, and I don't know enough about that to know if that's a big enough deal to stay with that dealership if she's there. So, and I'm fine if she's not there.
Is she head of sales?
No, she's one of the salesmen. She's one of the, she's the only saleswoman.
I think that if we looked hard enough, we could find people that had relatives in most everything, I guess.
What?
I said, I think if we looked hard enough, we would find people that had relatives most everywhere.
Well,
Every business.
I
If
just,
she's not your salesperson,
Yeah.
it doesn't
I
apply.
don't think, as long as you're not dealing directly with her.
well, and they
She's
don't,
getting
Right.
they don't,
commission off
no,
of it.
Yeah.
they don't work on commission. They work, the team is paid based on the number of cars, the team sales. It has nothing to do with the individual salesperson.
And she doesn't own any
So-
part of the business.
No.
So then I don't think that applies at all.
If she owned it, she used it.
Yeah, there you go.
I would move that we allow Darn to purchase a vehicle with a top price of $22,000. Give her some leeway.
So do you
Just
have
a
an
minute,
opinion on the
just a minute, just a minute,
powertrain?
just a minute, just a
Go
minute.
ahead.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Okay, now, LaDonna, you may talk.
Do you have an opinion on the powertrain part of it, or does it make a bit of difference either way?
I'm not familiar with those cars, so I can't comment on that. I don't know. You didn't. I guess
say-
I would, it
I've
depend
never-
on the people. I
I've
guess
never
you'd have-
had to use a powertrain warranty in 40
Doesn't
my
have
40
to.
years of owning vehicles, so I
I
can't
guess
say
the only
that.
thing I could say, it's a lifetime powertrain warranty, but the but would be, does it have to be repaired at their dealership?
Okay, I can look into
If
that.
it has to be repaired at their dealership and it's a travel
Right.
deal, you know. then-
Yeah, it's a long way.
I'm sure it would have to be repaired at their dealership if they're providing a warranty.
And I'm just,
Well,
I'm
some
just-
warranties,
I know we're gonna keep this 10, 12, however many years. It's not like we're gonna trade it in 2 years or something like that. So I think that might have some value, but I don't.
Are you
I
going
don't
to
know.
sell
some
me the vehicle?
dealers,
Yes,
some dealers utilize the nationwide warranty
yeah.
companies that he could go buy a warranty on his pickup.
And I don't know, I didn't ask that question, I just didn't know if it was a big enough value that we should wait to see if they can find this one, because they'll look for one and then see what their price would be, or if it wasn't a big enough value.
Vehicles nowadays, you know, the way they're built, something in the powertrain going out within 150, 200,000 miles is rare,
Well, that's what I would think, so.
but happens, I'm sure.
Okay, well, so you're okay if I just keep researching and when I find the one I want,
Yes.
go for it,
We got a motion.
okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Yes, LaDonna, you have 22,000 to purchase a car.
Spend that much.
It was,
Thank you.
Get an appropriate color.
yes, an
Well-
appropriate color.
Black, they come in black and white, I don't particularly want white. I found a blue one in Abilene, but the dash and the side panels on the doors were white. Why would you want a white dash?
That's why I said.
I would think it
that's
would
why I-
yellow in the sun.
That's
so-
why I said an appropriate color.
Okay. I don't care, no problem.
No hot
Iridescent
pink,
green,
I
I
think
vote for
is what he's
iridescent
saying.
green.
What?
Iridescent green, I vote.
Oh, okay. Well, they had a Honda Element in bright lime green, and if you've ever been in an Element, the back seats are like cargo seats, and they fold up flat, so you'd have like a cargo interior. But they sold the car. But that would have been a fun car. but
Yeah.
I wouldn't probably have gotten it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You laid this out,
Oh, sorry, that was me mine.
okay.
The only thing that I have is, when do you guys want to return to winter hours? Or do you want to?
Well, cold anyway. We don't have to. What do you think, Alexis? Would it help you or hinder you or what?
It doesn't matter to me. I'll be fine with moving to 10. Did we do 10 o'clock?
Yeah, we did 10. We used to do 10. I don't know, do you want to do it? Well, time's gonna change though in November.
What if we go to 9? That way we don't have to take that lunch break, because sometimes that's unnecessary. Unless,
I guess we don't have to take a lunch break, do
Yeah,
we?
we wouldn't have to.
We wouldn't have to. We could just meet clear through. If we all knew
right?
that we were coming at 10 and we were gonna stay till we.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be more inclined to not have a lunch break
Okay,
because I
That's
feel
fine
like
with me.
That's
I
fine.
don't have a problem
I
with
don't
that.
have any problem either. With me.
I'm gonna do 10 to 1.
10 to 1. Try 10 to 1. When do you want to start?
that's fine. That's fine.
Want to start in November? You want to start in December? Or?
I'm not
I don't
100%
start any
sure.
earlier than we have to, but
Well,
I don't know what all I have. I don't think I have anything on the agenda, but the girls put people on the agendas too, so.
we will have to canvass. That has to be done by.
Yeah. You have to start by 10 a.m.
We have to
canvassing.
start by 10.
So that, yeah, that day.
What day
you
is
have
that?
to.
13th, isn't it? The day, Monday after
Yeah,
the
because
election.
the 7th.
we're
Yeah.
gonna just make it for December 1st, about
December 1st, that'll be fine.
Okay. Do you want to have a motion or an?
I don't think that needs a
board
motion.
approved?
Yeah, board approved. See, was that what you said, Dawn, or did you say something else?
No, that was it.
Okay, now we have Elizabeth Sheldon, but Dawn didn't call her and I didn't call her either for the rec commission appointment we need to make, but I think we need to touch base with Elizabeth, be sure that's okay. So Dawn, you want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. And we signed the, did you look at the invoices? We did sign the letter that we approved last year, that you updated for awareness, domestic violence awareness. Oh, I would also say that I received a call from John Grace this week, and about the rent. He assured me that, have we received September's? That it would be there. He also.
You mean we got a second payment in addition to the one that Greg Babcock brought in? Okay.
He again apologized, said that they were redoing the books there and they just hadn't got their act together. I also visited with him a little about back rent, and I told him that he said he wasn't ready to address that. He thought it'd be about a week before he got his mind around the financials. But I told him that he should, when he did, to contact the county attorney, because we had authorized to move that way. So that was my conversation with John Grace. He did tell me that he thought they were close at approving
At the city?
city.
I think so.
City was ready to move. There's a few questions, I guess, that they need to answer. A few of the.
Well, that'd be great if we got the back rent
Okay.
situation squared away. That would be wonderful.
I contacted Eric Johnson about the changes in the electrical deal, and I think there's something in the works as far as setting up a meeting with the engineer.
Are they asking to do another evaluation though?
No,
Okay, that's good.
that wasn't my understanding. He
Good.
didn't think that.
I think we need to at least explore
The bills? Oh,
right there.
okay, I'm sorry, I thought you had it.
What we're gonna be facing as far as reconfiguring the agreement that we have in our contract. I mean, it's just, the longer we wait, the more we're at risk for making the wrong decisions, and we have end of the month meeting coming up again, so I move to contact and request opinion from the Attorney General under K.S.A. 75-4301A. Semicolon, Does Jennifer O'Hare have a substantial interest in O'Hare Law LLC?
Do I have a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. I would say that I would like some time to digest this and to formulate my opinion on what we should do.
I don't think we have a say. I mean, this is flat down whether or not.
Yeah, I do have a say. I do need to study this since it was dropped on my desk this morning. I need a little time to move it through my brain. I realize that I am old and I'm a little slow, but I think it behooves me to study this a little closer so I have an idea of exactly what's going on. And that's my position. Do we have anything else to come before this board today? If not, this board stands adjourned until Monday morning. And we will have accounts payable and payroll ready, right?
Down the dot your T's and cross your I's.
Well, how much rain this weekend, Howard?
I think it was 0.
0.